shooters.
Hey fam! Welcome to the MIKEroaggress'd VP debate after show after the greatest debate victory in the history of the Republic. We will have friends popping in. I'm so excited these guys are joining us. First of all, I got my besties here, my Florida homies, Mr. Greg Wilson.
Hello, hello.
Other Mikey.
Hello.
And I am so excited to have these guys because I really wanted to introduce them to Greg and everyone. I'm so excited. Welcome our returning champions to the show, Mr. Greg Bolden
What's
and
going
Mr. Chris Michaels.
I see you made short work and you already got that cut.
I know, that was amazing.
The moment I heard that, my ears.
Walt
Really good at making short
of Sassy Tim talking about being friends with
School shooters.
school shooters.
Before we start, let me just say hey to all of our beautiful chat friends. Giorgio Quattrocento, I have not seen you in a bit. I've missed you. Burner B, Christy, Ulster, Dangerous Spaces, DC, Marie, everybody, Justin, James, everyone. We got the whole squad here tonight. By the way, this we were talking about this before. This is very true.
Factual.
it's 100% true.
Thanks you guys so much for hanging out with us tonight. If you feel so inclined, send in your super chat to join my locals, help me grift hard and support the channel. So I guess let's just go around. So I realize we got 2 Gregs and 3 Michaels.
Well, one thing I have to clearly say is the name Greg, clearly that's where the good looks go. Because look at these faces.
Look at this beautiful bastard below us.
I mean, he's good looking, but I mean, the Gregs, come on. Ladies, you're already pregnant.
James, thank you so much, dude. Holy sausage fest. When are you getting your ass on here, bitch? He's like one of those
12 inches.
I'm trying to do math in my head, but that doesn't sound very flattering.
4,
You guys can't do math.
8, 12,
Yeah.
16, 20.
Well, so I guess let's go around. Who wants to start? Thoughts on the debate?
I talk a lot, so I'll wait to the end.
Okay.
I'm really bad at being long.
Other Greg, you.
Well, I talk a lot too, so shit, we're out of luck. All right.
None of us are like fucking wallflowers here.
No, I know. Okay, I'll start. You twisted my arm. All right, so I actually posted during the show about the fact that JD Vance was having a moment. He was masterfully framing things in a way that Tim Walz could not respond without making himself look like he was anti-family, anti whatever that opposite part was. And I thought one of the most masterful parts of the entire debate was when they were talking about abortion. And Tim Walz comes out there and he goes, well, listen, as a conservative Republican, I'm pro-family. I want to protect the family. I want to give options for, in vitro fertilization, IVF treatment, all these things. I want more options for the family, more options for this. And when Tim Walz took the bait after his second response and he goes, no, I'm pro-woman. We're pro-woman. Immediately I was going, he nailed him. Now you have the party who is pro-family, pro-everyone, and you have the party who has specifically said, nope, we're not pro-family, we're not pro-everyone, we are pro-woman. And as a male living in this country, I want to know, what do the Democrats offer for men? What do they offer for my views? There is nothing, because the most important thing.
They suddenly know what a woman is. The moment they had a woman running, suddenly they can define woman.
Well, what they offer for men is abortions, because that's the kind of man the Democrats are.
That's correct. They're pussies.
Michaels, what do you think?
I thought it was just fairly boring. I mean, Trump set the bar so high, not with his debate skills, but just putting on a good show and at least annoying people, that this was just dry toast with Swiss cheese and mayonnaise put together. And I think it was the worst part of this whole thing were these awful moderators. Like the one question where they talk about a pregnancy register, where they say, oh, in Project 2025, they talk about a pregnancy register. And how would you respond to this, Mr. Waltz? And they go on and on. They automatically assume that Trump and Vance are the authors of Project 2025. And then the moderator goes to Vance and says, would you create a pregnancy register? So the subtle, subliminal assumption here is, one, they are associated with Project 2025 when they're not. 2, they're doing the Democrat bidding because the Democrat argument is always that Trump is with Project 2025 and he's going to put together everything that they want. So now the moderators just automatically assume that, yes, that statement is true and Vance wants everything that has in Project 2025. I mean, it was just so disgraceful. It's a false association. It's a very, very subtle but stereotypical Democrat style law school tactic. It's so antiquated.
Well, I agree with you that it was disgraceful. I disagree with you that they assume that he's in charge of Project 2025. They know damn well that he has nothing to do with it, that it's a think tank at the Heritage Foundation and others, that it's a nothing burger. They do this all the time. They're just absolutely disingenuous. They're not journalists. They're dictators. They don't care about facts. Like, these are absolutely disgraceful people that don't have a shred of morals or ethics when it comes to journalism. I have no respect. And what needs to happen is the Republican Party needs to grow some balls, stop placating to this committee that runs these debates, and say, no, you have violated the rules that we've agreed upon for decades, and we're done with it, and we're not holding debates. And they need to turn the page on and flip the book on them, and just not, because we don't, the
Democrats
debates
won't show up
don't move elections.
No,
they
I
don't
disagree.
change polls.
You always
It's
say that.
extremely rare.
I disagree.
That it
Disagree.
makes much of a difference overall. You'll get some little swing for
I'll tell you where it matters. It matters completely to the boomers who are still controlling the election. The most important thing that can happen here in 2024 is you've got to reach the Gen Z voters that are voting for the first time at the age of 18 to 20. You've got to reach the millennials right now, because they are going to be the only thing between the boomers dictating their final election, because it likely is close to the final election the boomers dictate, and the millennials. We've got to have that conversation.
Let me real quick, because I keep seeing people in chat saying this. I was not aware of this. Was it some kind of trolling thing? So you guys catch me up. Apparently the Heritage Foundation guy endorsed Kamala
several days ago. Yes.
Oh,
how did I not know that?
Yeah, that came out,
well,
I think, 2 days ago.
Heirs. That's what they are. Like,
they're think tanks.
Yeah,
it's irrelevant. Yeah.
But before, I just want to go to you. Thoughts on the debate?
Yeah. So I thought, can everyone hear me okay? Can you guys hear me okay? Okay. So I felt like, for me, watching the debate, it was, I think, just like, to kind of give everybody credit, like, it was nice to see a debate where there actually was like substantive discussions being had, and it wasn't just like a 2-hour, circle jerk when it comes to like who can have the best meme at the end of the day. Like, I think it was like, I always like to watch the debates in the eyes of like an undecided voter. And if I was an undecided voter, I would think, wow, that was actually really nice to see two people who were able to have respect for one another and be able to actually have like a substantive debate about policy and to stick with the issues. And I think the reason why it was like that is because Vance just completely wiped the floor in every aspect of this debate. There was not one topic that Republicans would have historically lost on, like abortion, climate change, like all these issues that liberals just have the narrative on. Vance had completely wiped the floor with him. And I think Walsh was so startled. I think he was not expecting to have this kind of debate. I think he was expecting to just be a troll the whole time and just come out with the, he's weird and the couches and the childish cat lady. Like, I thought he was going to bring out that kind of energy, and he just wasn't. The whole time he looked like he was shitting himself the whole performance, the whole debate.
See, I made the comment about Waltz that it looked as though someone had turned on the remote butt plug, and he was not aware of it. He had that facial expression on him, like what's with that? He looked like a very.
It's so obvious. Like, this is why, because when Trump initially picked Vance, I thought it was a good pick, but I was also kind of like, immediately the attacks were coming out against him. I was like, oh gosh, this is gonna look bad. I don't know if this was the right choice. After tonight, though, I mean, I think he won people over. I think that it's Team Trump's definitely going to be very happy. If I was in Kamala's team, though, I would be very nervous about that debate because that was not good at all for Waltz.
Yeah, supposedly a lot of Democrats are saying that he's ruined it, and even independents are saying that Waltz ruined it, and he just wasn't that good. I mean, I thought it was atrocious. The first question is whether or not you agree with starting a first world war. I mean, what? what kind of question is that? Do you allow Israel to start a third world war? And Waltz stuttered and stumbled. He couldn't get the words out.
Michael,
I mean, this should be bread and butter for politicians.
So this whole time I've been very agnostic on Vance. I've always said, like, I kind of have no opinion of him, just nothing. He slaughtered it tonight. I hadn't seen any of his debates before, so I didn't expect that he would perform well. Oh my God, Sage! I just saw this. The whole debate was JD grabbing Tim by the pussy.
Well, he does have a giant one.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, but I've seen like interviews. I've seen like media interviews from Vance, like when has interviews from like CNN, CBS, some other liberal outlets, and he always does a very good job. I mean, he hits it right back to them whenever he can. Whenever he tries to get when he gets any sort of pushback from them, he pushes right back just as hard. And I think he's definitely Trump's greatest asset at this point. I think he needs to listen to him. He had all the right answers. I mean, it couldn't have gone more perfect for them. I think that was the closest thing to perfection I've ever seen in a debate. Ever. Ever.
It gave me some hope too when he said, it was towards the end that he said about that he disagrees with Trump on some things, and we'll tell him. It gave me some hope that maybe for once Trump will have someone there who isn't just a yes man, and will tell him what he needs to hear.
And I loved when he said, like, and he was speaking to the vote, like directly to the TV when he said this. He was like, you know, there was a time where I didn't like Trump. I know a lot of you may not like him, but like, let's be honest here. Like, this country's up in flames right now. The person the person across from me is on a ticket where their head of the ticket is the sitting vice president. They have had so many opportunities to do the things that they're talking about, and they haven't done it. And you know that it's just, you'd be living under a rock to think that this country wasn't better off 4 years ago, you know? And I think that resonated with a lot of people. And I think that there was like there was just an authenticity and a sense of honesty with Vance in this entire debate that I think are going to change a lot of minds tonight, or at least get people thinking.
I want to mention too, I don't want this to get glossed over. Can we just acknowledge the fact that the Democrat Party just had their candidate for Vice President of the United States on a debate stage say that the First Amendment does not cover so-called hate speech? The First Amendment was written to protect hate speech. First of all, there's no such thing as hate speech.
The Supreme Court already ruled on that. Said there's no such thing as hate speech. It's protected speech. And the most vulgar, and we might not like the speech. There's a lot of times I hate stuff that people are saying, but it is the most important thing in this country to protect the most vile speech, as long as it is not a direct call to action, like, I've got a platform, go kill this person.
Right.
Yeah, as long as you don't do that, it's fine. And it should be supported in a sense that we allow it. Not that we agree with it. You combat bad speech with good speech.
Yeah.
I was very glad, too, that Vance got into censorship. I didn't expect that.
Can I ask you guys your opinion on something? When Walz was asked about his relationship and trips to China, is anyone really buying the fact that it was sports coaching, going over China 60 times? Like, for me, I said that was a pathological liar moment, watching his body language, not being able to look into the camera, looking down, and then dodging the true nature of the question at the end. I think if people go back and they watch that answer in full again and the way it wraps up, you can't help but realize there's more to that China story. And Walz tried to cover it up the best of his ability. But what's your opinion? I mean, am I misreading into that, or did you feel the same way watching it?
You're not. I don't think you're misreading into it. Like, I do not like Walz at all. I think he's a terrible person. I don't buy this whole, like, I care about people thing.
Folksy shit.
Yeah, he's a communist. He went to China like 30 times. He's even admitted to it. Now he's trying to change it. Like, it was like a dozen times, and it was for sports trips and stuff. That's BS. There's also, and I don't remember all the facts, and people should look it up, but there was an important documentation of the military, is basically books that talked about how you handle war zones and everything. And it was not classified, it was for official use only, and basically kind of on the border of classified. These are documents that all of a sudden went missing under his watch that he had control of when he went to China. And it's just gone. And these are things that need to be in the government's possession. Where did it go? Nobody knows. There are all sorts of military personnel that if you go and look it up are like, well, he had it last and now he doesn't. He was in the service constantly going to China. As a former service member that has to go through these constant security reviews and under massive scrutiny, you do not just get to go to these other countries that are adversaries and not get questioned about it. It's amazing to me that he has been able to stand in the position that he is or was in the military. On top of that, all his lies about pretending like he served in a war zone, which he never did, pretending that he carried weapons of war, which he never did, taking over slots from other people, saying he was going to become a command master sergeant and then never completed it, which screwed over people that wanted to become that. And then when he knew, because you find out about your deployment months and months ahead of time of when you're going to go so you can plan your affairs, he finds out about that. Then he drops out before his actual re-enlistment is up, because after you're in for so long, you can do that. So he screwed over his own unit. This person has only ever cared about himself. There's a term that they use in the military called Blue Falcons, people that don't care about the unit, that only care about self-promotion and lying about their accomplishments. They don't actually do anything. And he is the perfect example of that.
Yeah.
Well, I think something
nailed
that
it.
a lot of people may not want to acknowledge is that this guy's intel. You know, he may not be bright. He may fumble around. He may have this goofy Midwest persona.
Just because you're an intel does not mean you're intelligent.
Right.
No, of course not. I mean, look at Zelensky, look at Hunter Biden, look at all the rest of them. So this guy could, in fact, be part of it, some kind of intelligence, and he could be taking documents over there. Then those documents are, in fact, doctored. So he was meant to plant those documents, or he was meant to give them those documents in an effort to build up trust so that they can continue along with whatever intelligence operation they intend to do. Either way, it's still despicable. It's still low down. And I wouldn't trust this guy. I mean, he more than likely has come back a full-blown communist, and the evidence is fairly obvious. I mean, Greg and I had on these college kids a while ago, and we were talking about I forgot what it was, but these
social
kids,
credit scores,
right? And these kids spent time in China, and they knew Chinese propaganda inside and out. There was no convincing them otherwise. Every response that we had, they had an answer to. So they were coached very, very well in their communist propaganda. Same nonsense here. But he can't say that stuff.
Well, and I think in this debate, he's seeing the limits of how far this sort of syrupy emotional manipulation, the language of emotions and this fake folksy shit can really go, because he's used to just getting by on that.
Yeah.
And he kind of wasn't able to tonight. He kind of met his match in that department.
You know what I loved about this whole thing too is that, it's about the freedom of choice for women. This is about women. Oh, well, we didn't have freedom of choice under COVID.
Mm-hmm.
You know, your Democrat Party forced people to get an experimental gene therapy.
And Walls set up a hotline for neighbors to report each other
Snitching.
I wish
for
he
leaving the
brought that up.
house.
I wish.
Yeah.
For someone who talks all about neighborliness.
Yeah.
You know, one
furthest thing
person's
from it.
socialism is one person's neighborliness. Doesn't sound very neighborly to me.
No.
Let's not forget, this is the same party that brought you. We don't want you to be able to eat at the restaurant that you love unless you show your papers, please. Yeah. It's the same party that brought you. You should be put in jail if you don't get vaccinated. It's the same party that brought you. You shouldn't get health care if you don't get vaccinated, that hospitals shouldn't treat you. Fuck that party. I'm sick and tired of the Tim Wallses that are up there. You know, people forget where we were in 2020, that it was the Democrats that were leading the way and ripping people's rights away. Donald Trump was just saying, you know what? You can say whatever you want about the way Donald Trump handled it, but at least he tossed, and I have too. Yeah, but at least he tossed it back to the governors.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. It's valid criticism, but at least he tossed it back to the governors under his presidency instead of saying this is the way it's going to be, as Joe Biden did with the federal government mandating everything for plane flights and everything else. I have not forgotten, and I will not forget, and I hope that America doesn't forget. The main question, though, after this is there anybody that watches this debate tonight sees J.D. Vance as very electable? I mean, if you don't see him as very electable, I don't know if we're watching the same debate or you're just a propagandist who's consumed everything MSNBC can throw at you. And when you, when you have a wet dream at night, it's Rachel Maddow coming out. That's all I can imagine is happening. So if we're there at this point...
And that thing is probably like old taffy at this point.
Hey,
nobody is touching that.
Love you, Trina.
So I'm curious, will the brainwashed people feel any differently at the end of this debate? Does this move the needle? I mean, Mike, you moved from Democrat to the Republican Party. So did this check any boxes for your former self?
I mean, my former self was, a nut job. I mean, I'm still a nut job, just different ways.
You still are.
I really appreciated the fact that I thought Vance spoke very directly to people who aren't already supporting Trump. I think it wasn't just preaching to the choir. And one thing I really appreciate about their candidacy is I think they're trying to build some sort of consensus on a lot of these issues that we've been arguing over for the last 40, 50 years, like abortion. This is the most moderate ticket. And I'm someone who falls somewhere in the middle on the abortion issue. I'm not a hardcore one way or the other, really. And I appreciate that they're trying, that I love the fact that he was talking, because I think the Republican Party, in terms of being pro-life, has completely failed in promoting things that would prevent abortion. So I love that he was talking about that, and he was calling out the Republican Party for that.
Yeah. It's people who pay attention and who are really listening to what this Trump Vance ticket is offering, it is a ticket for everybody that can work some way for everybody. Anyone that takes away from this, that this is some far right, ultra conservative ticket. I mean, yes, does it lean conservative? Absolutely. But, there's just so many things that they have really expanded on. Like, I love the coalition with RFK, the whole Make America Healthy Again thing.
Yes.
I love that. Like that, the whole health thing, bringing, that whole sphere being brought into the political arena is so, I think, needed now. And it's an issue that is not talked about enough. And I'm glad it's being brought to the forefront of our politics. And that's something that they're offering to a lot of these people that it hasn't been an issue that people have really been able to vote on. And just everything. I mean, their ticket works for everybody. And I mean, I'm glad that I always thought for the longest time that you kind of needed on the GOP ticket, you needed that evangelical voice that can kind of bring in the Christians and that hardcore religious vote, like what Pence was like in 2016. But now it's I think we're in such different times now to where you really have to just kind of appeal to everyone and not just, a certain.
Walz said it himself at the end. One thing I completely stand by from when I was a Democrat is to this day, I despise George W. Bush, Dick Cheney. That presidency and Obama's was basically identical in many ways. And Walz said it himself at the end. We've built a coalition with people like Dick Cheney. That's a no for me, dog.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm I feel like my politics will usually align with whatever is the opposite of Dick Cheney.
Yeah. The fact that Dick Cheney and Taylor Swift and Green Day and all these people are aligned together is like kind of, it's a very wild
Mike, does
pairing.
that mean you don't like dick?
Oh,
Come on,
which
we don't
one?
have to
Which
work.
one?
We're
Both of us?
guests.
I mean,
We don't have to do this,
It's
do
been a
we?
while. I don't remember what it looks like.
What Dick Cheney? I don't like Dick Cheney.
Oh, let me get a
one will blast you in the face, though.
whoa.
High five, Greg. High five.
let me get it for a super chat. Burner, I love you. Thank you so much, my love. Okay, boys. I especially want to hear from our straight buddies here. Okay, boys. Everybody rate JD 10 on looks 1 to 10, hot or not. He's lost weight. He was kind of chunky before. I think George Santos said he might have been on Ozempic or something. So tonight I would hit it. I would fuck him like he owed me money.
Definitely believe anything George Santos said.
True.
That's so true.
Good point.
I just think it's, depending on how he dresses, he's always been about like that. Maybe
I've always
about
thought
5
he's
pounds.
pretty good looking.
Tonight I am like a 9.
I would say he's like a solid 8.
I think his eyes are too close together.
Well, Marie said he wears too much eyeliner. He wears more eyeliner than I do.
He
Yes,
doesn't wear eyeliner. No,
I
he
thought
doesn't.
I thought Waltz wore eyeliner. He had these
Did he?
thick.
Walls looks
I-
like
well,
his
They
head
probably
is
had
made out of
makeup,
wax.
but not eyeliner.
When you go on stage, everybody wears eyeliner.
Well, yeah, I know.
Michaels, we need a number 1 through 10.
Oh,
Me.
for who? For Vance?
Yeah.
I said 8.
Who's the top and who's the bottom?
That's a good point.
Vance
I'm
gives top
lazy,
energy.
So
I think he would go both
Verse.
ways. Yeah, he goes both ways, I think.
See,
a vertical.
I would just be weird, and I would say I'd give him an 8 as long as I'm the top.
Ooh.
Because I have to be in control. He could be in control in the public, but
What about you, Greg?
I'm giving him a 6. He's my wingman at the bar.
So
come on. That's
He's
not
the
bad.
guy who can charm enough, but they're not going home with him. They're going home with me.
Oh,
So I'm going with a 6.
Come on, they're going home
Guys
with
are
you,
going
a
home with
guitar player, or him, a veteran. Come on.
Yeah,
I mean,
me. No one wants the. Given the two, me obviously. Come on, Michaels.
we only discuss the important issues here, y'all.
Yeah. This is what's gonna make or break the election: is hot or not.
Yeah.
It's true. We needed someone hot on the ticket.
Well, you know Waltz. I mean, he just looks like a cuckold.
The comments.
There you go.
Marie.
See?
Damn.
I love
Wow. Okay.
Which finger of the surgical glove? That's all.
it. I have no idea how to segue from all that.
What do you mean? All right, well, yeah. I mean, come on. I mean, with Waltz, what do you think he's all about? I mean, I can just imagine him.
I'll
I
tell
can
you.
be-
He's
Let me bring this up.
the elected himself scoutmaster that tells you he's safe with your kids.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw on
I
Twitter
get
before.
very
Let me
creepy
try to
vibes.
find it. I saw the greatest description I have ever seen of Tim Waltz. I got to bring this up.
Does that have a little piggy nose?
It is so accurate. Waltz looks like the type of guy who asks for consent before kissing a woman, then molests her son.
Ugh.
That is so accurate, though.
God.
He gets
I mean, he's just
thumbs
so
off. And I
weird looking.
don't like playing like mean things like that, but
I
he-
do.
He comes off.
Yeah, he comes
pretty
across
mean.
as very creepy. Very
Uh,
creepy.
I just
I
think
think
it's
that's
rest in peace, Chris Farley, because if Chris Farley was still alive, we'd have gold content on Saturday Night Live. Because
Yes.
every time I see Walls kicking and throwing his arms up, I just see Chris Farley doing down by a river and jumping through a table.
Oh, seriously. I thought he
Can I
was.
bring that up, by the way? You mentioned a good point. I forgot about this. It's so interesting. So I watched a clip of SNL was on the other night, and they were portraying Biden. And it's astonishing. You think back to how they were portraying Joe Biden in 2020, and they had Jim Carrey playing him, all energetic, firing guns, jumping around, when he was basically almost as decrepit as he is now. And now that the narrative has changed and the approved talking points are different, now they're portraying him as the demented old man that he is.
Do you know who played him on Saturday Night Live last week? That was Dana.
Oh, Dana Carvey.
Yes. Now, here's why that's really important. If you followed Dana Carvey since 2020, he is horribly against the Democrats and what they did during COVID. He hates Dr. Fauci. he does a phenomenal comedy bit on him and about basically how Dr. Fauci's an asshole. The fact that Saturday Night Live would go to somebody who is conservative leaning to play Joe Biden here in 2024 is a complete about face for Lorne Michaels and the entire franchise. So I thought that was phenomenal that they pulled Dana Carvey basically out of retirement just to do Joe Biden for the next few weeks.
That's
Wow.
amazing.
I didn't know about that.
I knew he played him, but I didn't know Dana Carvey was kind of right-leaning.
I think he is.
I didn't know about that. I just remember him doing. Didn't he do Bush or was it Perot? Or did he do
Perot? Oh,
Yeah,
he was
did-
Perot.
yeah, he
Great
did-
as
no, I think he
Perot.
did Bush.
He did
too.
both. He did both.
Did
Not
he?
going to eat my broccoli. Not going to do it. That was Carvey, and then he did Perot as well.
I just remember he's like, not getting it when be hurting.
He's amazing. Yeah, though yeah, isn't that special? I really was impressed by Vance though.
I
Vance,
mean, he
I've been telling
seemed
people
like
that.
the adult in the room compared
yeah.
to Sassy Tim.
he is
I
very
think
centered.
there are going to be a lot of people saying that this should have been the top of the ticket on both sides.
Yeah, people are saying that.
I agree. Matter of fact, if you follow my content, and Mike, we talked about this a little bit, I've been kind of a reluctant Trump voter for the fact that I really have felt that both parties have failed us,
Yeah.
that we should have other options. And then the Democrats trying to put Joe Biden back up and then taking democracy away from anyone who's registered Democrat by just saying, nope, no brokered convention. We're just going to push her right in.
Yeah.
Fuck you guys.
Biden in the primaries.
Mhm.
Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
Just
Forget it.
We're just
And
gonna
then-
put Kamala
but
in there
Screw
with
you
0
guys.
votes.
Right.
But
We're the
honestly, like,
party of democracy.
Yeah.
yeah, seeing JD Vance on stage though tonight, I'm going, you know what? I could have got excited about this.
Yeah,
I
Yeah.
obviously am voting for Trump and Vance because I will not in any way, shape, or form vote for the Harris Walls ticket. That's never happening. But that stated, I'm not as excited as I would have been if Trump had stepped to the side and allowed somebody like a JD Vance to step up, or Vivek Ramaswamy even with him. That would have been an energizing ticket with a new vision for the Republicans. And I think it could have been a winning ticket. But I don't think it's time. And if anything, JD Vance just punched his ticket to be the nominee in the future if he's not vice president. So
100%.
he'll be a household name for some time now.
Yeah.
Well, that's the great thing that hopefully people like piece out of this. I can get the qualms with Trump. I think he's the right president at the right time. I think he's a wrecking ball to the establishment and the deep state, which I think is fantastic. He's not the most articulate guy, but that's what makes people identify with him, is he's this billionaire guy that somehow identifies with the Rust Belt and the middle class. He understands them because he goes out and actually spends time with them. He shakes hands with them. He works with them. You can actually see throughout his entire history of how he has a deep love for these people. He doesn't pretend that he's from the middle class. He's never done that. He knows where he comes from, and he knows who puts him there, which is the middle class. And then you have somebody like a JD Vance who grew up with the opioid pandemic. He grew up low class. He grew up and joined the Marines. Then he became a lawyer. He went to a prestigious school. He did all of that. He's got a family. He knows what struggle is. He knows what hard work is. He knows he's got that steel toe credentials. He knows blue collar, and he's articulate and can identify that. And he speaks the truth. And when there are issues, and we've seen in this debate tonight, where the American people have voted against what his positions are, he's come out and said, yeah, we put it up for a vote in Ohio and people went against my position, but that's what we have to respect because we gave it back to the states. And that's what people want to hear.
Yes.
And so now people are seeing that, okay, we get 4 more years of Trump, but then we could potentially have 8 years of Vance. And then we have other people on the ticket that are up and comers, like Vivek Ramaswamy, who seems like, at least so far, he's saying all the stuff that we want to hear. And he took forever to win me over because I didn't trust him. But who does the Democrat Party have? These are fake people. People, party or not, people are struggling.
Let me just sorry to interrupt. We have a friend. I just want to say too, I love so much the fact, like, I think the thing that I am most proud of on this channel is that this ain't no echo chamber, not just amongst all of us, but our friends in the chat. I really feel like there are very few channels I know that is
So
intellectually diverse,
so free thinking
as this squad. Let me bring in my boy. It has been way too long since he has been on here, but please welcome to the party my beloved friend, the front porch conservative, Mr. Brian.
Good evening, gentlemen. This is such a fine evening to be seen among such intellectually capable individuals who are engaged engaging in scintillating conversation, absolutely dissecting analysis, and general bullshit. So, it's great to see all you guys. Finally get to meet some of you. I mean, I see you guys hanging out with Harlow all the time. And I've never really had the chance to talk to any of it. But yeah, it's absolutely great to be on here. And, Mikey, we are long overdue for a conversation, my brother.
I miss you. You missed the dick talk. So, like, we got that out of the way for, like, the classy folks to join.
How could you miss that?
So, Brian, what were your thoughts on the debate?
It's funny because we just did a live stream on my channel covering it, and if we're talking about straight style points, I thought that JD owned him from the opening bell to the last glove laid. I mean, I mean that sincerely. Although I will say this: after the first TV break, Walls pulled himself together. From the second they started to that first TV break, JD owned him on style points. I mean, the thing that got me was watching the physical comparison between the two men. JD was smooth. He was calm. Nothing you could have lit a case of dynamite off under this guy's ass, and I don't think he would have got excited. Walls, and I think it was one of my listeners, spastic. That's the word they used to describe him. Spastic. I mean, you watch him he's turning at Vance going like this, just giving this bug-eyed look out of his face, like a creature out of Gremlins or something. I thought that, Vance came in giving zero fucks when they tried to shut down his microphone, and he still kept on talking. And then Margaret Brennan's like, "Well, sir, no one can hear you. Your microphone's been shut off." And I thought, and I said out loud, I was like, "The hell, people can't hear him. I can hear him clear through here."
Yep.
I thought I thought Tim Walz had two really good moments. To be completely fair. No, I do. One of them was on. His best. One of his best answers was on gun control and violence. He made it very personal. He made it very. I'm relating my experiences as a Minnesotan, as someone who grew up in Nebraska. The second answer was on J6. I'm going to be honest. I thought that was Vance's weakest answer. He did not handle that well. I don't think he did.
That's such a tough.
Which part?
The part that's like, Donald Trump and I are looking to the future. We're trying to solve problems. He did and he didn't.
Yeah.
He tried to turn it and say, well, Kamala's trying to take away free speech. That's a bigger threat to democracy. Well, okay, but
it's such a BS question.
It really is.
Oh, I agree with you.
It's just not giving it. I get what you're saying, though.
It would be difficult for me to answer.
No, to me, that's such an easy question to answer because you literally say, okay, so are you saying that what Hillary did and what Gore did in 2000 is not the same thing? Like we can just go in circles like this all day.
Yeah,
both parties have done this to each other. Yeah. Both parties don't like when they lose and they throw a little hissy fit, and that's just what happens. Like we hate losing. So that's one of the Democrats' strong points is the election, the 2020, the January 6th. That's why they asked the question. It's so, it is such a tough question to answer, but at the same time, it's not though, because they've done the same thing.
Well, yeah, for me though, if they were to just be like, was the 2020 election stolen? For me, I'd be like, yes and no.
It's like yes and no. Yes, it's not a yes or no question.
Yeah.
So I disagree with Brian here as far as he fumbled, and here's why.
Okay.
It's a tired narrative that's been said over and over again, and America deserves better. If the Democrats, all they have is January 6th as a talking point to try to remind people, were not focused on policy. And I felt like this debate was actually a very good adult debate.
Yeah,
Lots of policy talk.
I agree.
And two people
100%.
that actually respected one another on the stage, which was refreshing over the last 8 years of politics in this country. I felt that they really handled each other in a respectful tone.
Yeah.
But when he went there with that question, Vance doesn't owe him an explanation anymore, which I thought he did a great job in kind of rephrasing and reframing to say, oh, you want to go there? Why don't we go here? And you can watch Walls' eyes there. He's like, why are we going here with this? You're deflecting. He wasn't. He was saying, your question no longer deserves the dignity of an answer.
Okay. Yeah. And I can't say I necessarily disagree with you. I mean, just from my perspective, yeah.
I kind of agree with both of you, I guess.
Yeah.
On the whole,
Dora credit.
I mean,
I think though, I kind of wanted to make a point because Greg had mentioned like that he's like a reluctant Trump voter. And that's definitely
Greg.
Greg.
Oh,
you're Greg.
Okay,
Okay, you're
Oh,
Greg.
yeah, you're the only person here with a different name. So we have Greg and Greg, and we have Mikey, Michaels.
Yeah, too many of us.
Michaels?
Chris Michaels, yeah.
Okay. Okay. No.
But yeah, he mentioned before you came on.
It's like the Brady Bunch. Where's Alice?
and fucking Brian. God damn it.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I know. You got to. Somebody's got to be the damn fly in the ointment. And God knows I've been doing it for years, baby.
But yeah, so he mentioned that he was a reluctant Trump voter, and I think that's like where you and I kind of bonded because we were both like not excited at all to vote for Trump. I was rooting for literally like anybody else in the primaries, if I'm being totally honest. I mean, not anybody else. Like I'm talking like Vivek, DeSantis. Like I was kind of like liking both of them, and I think that just between like this election at this point, kind of like what you were saying, like it's not about. Yes, it's about policy, of course, but at the same time, it's like so much has happened this year in the sense of the Democrats have totally hijacked what the term democracy has meant with what they did with swapping out Biden, which I mean, I never thought was going to happen at all until the first debate. I was like, there is no way they're going to keep this dude as the nominee. There's just no way. It's not going to happen, and they actually did it. And then the assassination attempts and everything going on overseas and just, you know, look at what happened this week with the hurricane. No, North Carolina has gotten zero help. I have family there right now that are totally stranded. Their town's basically underwater. And they've said they've gotten no help from their state government and barely any help from their federal government. And that's, I think, where people are starting to really see we need change in November. And like,
people need to stop depending on government to get them out of situations because it's not going to be there when you need them the most.
Yeah.
They never are. Historically, they've never been there. They make matters worse. It sucks. I get it.
Yeah.
There are horrible, horrible things that people are dealing with right now because of Hurricane Helene. I had an employee on my overall team, not directly under me, but on my team in general. And the great thing that happened is she's in Georgia, out of power. They cut off the water. There's massive looting. There's supplies nowhere.
Yep.
She's, you know, the company in general doesn't provide any support. They're trying to be helpful, but they're really kind of lacking. And then, you know, obviously federal government's not doing anything. Local government's not doing anything. She's super stressed. And our team came together within a matter of 2 hours, pulled together over $1,000 to buy supplies for her.
Yeah.
Order them, which should be arriving on Friday, to her daughter that lives an hour and a half away that's in college right now. So her mom can't go live with her daughter in a college dorm. But she's going to then drive an hour and a half up with over $1,000 in supplies to her mom and give it to her. That's what people do for each other. People that live as a community. I don't know this person. I might have talked to her for 30 seconds one time, but she's a part of our overall team. I don't care what her politics are, her race. I have no idea what she looks like or anything. It was somebody that's on our team that we're directly connected to, that we support. And there's no questions asked. It was, hey, we have somebody on our team that's directly impacted, and within a matter of 2 hours, over $1,000 is pulled together by people that are still struggling in this economy that supported. That's what people rely on. That's why you need to keep this communication going with people, even when they disagree. You still support each other because people can help each other out.
Yeah.
And we're so divisive now that we're separating each other, and it's the government that is doing that.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I wanted to mention also, is that the flip side of that, you know, when people talk about, oh, both parties are the same, both parties are terrible. Don't get me wrong. The Republican Party sucks and is beyond flawed, understatement of the century. However, as somebody who went from a blue city to a red state, oh, they are not the same.
No.
Oh, it makes a difference.
Well, at the state level,
just in your day-to-day life.
Yeah, at the state and local level, there's definitely a difference. There's no denying that. We saw that with COVID. But at the federal government, there's definitely a lot of overlap. I mean, you see it with
The Democrats talking about Dick Cheney.
Well, yeah, you just see it in general, how they vote in terms of where they spend their money.
Out trying to help you out? Fuck no.
Help shoot you in the face.
I mean, there's just certain issues where they just always just are like this on. And
have you heard about all these stories about these supply trucks being having their tires slashed?
Yeah, I've heard stories about this.
So what's that about?
Okay, there are reports coming out. I believe it's North Carolina, where supply trucks are coming in. These truckers will stop at a truck stop that is still open miraculously somehow. I have no idea. And they will come back out from having gotten themselves a sandwich or maybe gone to whatever, and they find their tires are slashed. There are legitimate reports of this, and I'm sitting here going, so let me get this straight. You are such an enormously tiny dick that you are willing to just ruin the life of your fellow man even further than it already is by not even letting aid come to them that you have nothing to do with, other than you're just deciding, hey, for shits and grins, let's blow out the tires on this guy's truck so he can't get these supplies to people who really desperately need it right now. You're just that small of a human being. So
right. I think there was also ties to one of the immigrant gangs too.
Yep.
Because over in
6 people were arrested. Yes.
Right.
I wanted to mention, Christy, if there's anything I can do to help out your friend's organization, DM me. Let me know. Yeah. That's amazing.
So Michaels and I were talking during the 8:30 show that we did. I have a friend that I work with who was at a wedding in Asheville, North Carolina on Thursday night. And we had a family in 5 different cars in the caravan. And he was telling me for about a half hour today with tears in his eyes about his experience over the 5 days trying to get out of Asheville.
Yeah.
And first he went west. Part of his family went north. The road was washed out up north. Out west, I guess, the eastbound lanes were wiped out from I-30 or 40, he was saying. So they had down the 1 lane each direction. Eventually, they stopped them there because there was another water event. So they sent him back. He saw a sheriff. They started running out of gas. They had to buy a siphon. They were able to find a Walmart that was open. And he said when he went to get a hotel room, they couldn't give him a hotel room because they were waiting for the linemen to come in to take the rooms. And at nighttime, he's like, I just need a place that I can rest to be safe so I don't drown. But the most horroring thing that he shared, I was sharing this earlier, he said, I drove over this overpass, this bridge, and I saw this river down below. And I didn't think anything of it until one of the people in the car pointed out, hey, that's the top of a U-Haul building over there. And I looked and realized the entire town was completely covered by water. And then he said that the sheriffs had no communications, the radios weren't working, cell phones were completely out. And the water right now, they're saying might be out for like the next 30 days. I've heard reports that there may be up to 1,000 people buried in the rubble that they're going to eventually uncover that have died. We heard the report by J.D. Vance, which was 100% accurate tonight, about the grandparents that were on the roof with the 6-year-old. The daughter took the photo of them thinking, oh, we'll remember this. When the roof collapsed, she got lodged and was able to live, but her parents and her child died in the flood. I mean, we're going to hear horrific things. I'm just wondering, where's Kanye West talking about Joe Biden right now and the Biden administration not caring about
in people? The loony bin.
Yeah.
I sort of bring up Marie. Thank you so much. That's so nice of you. You're amazing. And I can't wait for, and just like that, season 3. recap it with you. I'm upset these debates never address AI, automation, population change, outdated economic indicators, things that deeply impact our economy.
Yes,
What
Murray.
issues you wish these moderators would finally address? That's a great question.
Yes.
Well, it's definitely a question that the moderators should be asking, because that's a major sticking point of the strikes that are happening right now, even though I don't really agree with the strikes.
Right.
But that's a fair question.
I want to go to what were you saying, Greg?
Yeah, so I've actually, Marie, have done a ton of content on artificial intelligence. Michaels and I actually have a great guest coming up on Thursday where we're going to talk about the singularity movement with automation of artificial intelligence into our lives. If we're not asking presidential candidates about this right now, we're living 2 decades behind. Yeah. Because AI is already here. It's much more advanced than any human being has actually been given the full awareness of. Those of us that are studying it, like myself, we understand that we can fool people at this point. The singularity event that was talked about a long time ago is actually arrived. People do not know what is real and what is fake. And, there's lots of different examples of that. So not addressing this right now means that our president, our vice president of the administration, does not have a plan on how the world is becoming a non-biological being. And that has grand ramifications for everybody, but it has better ramifications if you're JD Vance saying we care about the family, and you really support AI if you're a Democrat saying, oh, no, we're pro-woman. It's not the party family, because they will strip away the family, move you towards Marxism, because you need Marxism in a non-biological entity, because we won't have the regular roles we used to have. So therefore, we will be replaced in the jobs. We will be replaced the way people think about it. So the whole gender conversation is leading towards artificial intelligence. Mark my words. Yeah. So Marie, I'm in your camp. 100%. We need to have a conversation about it.
How about you, Michaels?
Well, I think that AI is something that is already being used, and I tend to lean towards what one of our guests, Dr. Joseph Farrell, brought up, and that is that AI was used all throughout COVID, which is why you saw these drastic swings in policy from state to state, is that they're taking orders from some thing in the background, right, that we don't completely understand. I do think AI is going to be a massive issue, and I think we brought this up. So think about it this way: what's the whole purpose behind the Green New Deal and 15-minute cities and electric vehicles and all the rest, right? It's to basically clamp down on you, to remove your freedom, and also to make sure that they can track you in real time and make sure you're a good little person. Well, here's another thing that a lot of people don't quite comprehend, and that is the massive amount of power that artificial intelligence takes.
Oh, yeah.
Doing it through solar panels and wind farms just ain't gonna cut it. And what are they really doing? They're choosing AI over you. And the only way to make this kind of palatable is to blame you for climate change, which is more than likely cyclical and natural. So they blame you for climate change. They siphon off your energy because you're a bad person with too much carbon credits, and then they give it to artificial intelligence. And then they don't need you anymore. So I sincerely do believe artificial intelligence is something really, really dangerous that we should really be approaching. And going with Greg, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go on.
No, going with Greg further along is we're starting to see this movement called a mature minor, right? So they're going to start to create a new legal term, and a mature minor is basically anyone 12 years and above. And this 12-year-old can start having relationships with people that are adults. They can consent to sexual things. They can also consent to medical procedures. Now, here's the fun part about all of it. If you're a mature minor, you can go to the doctor. That doctor is not legally obliged to tell the parents what they saw the child for. So a child can start going through gender transitioning, and that doctor is completely within his legal rights to say, no, we're not telling you about it. So the kid could start going through all of these processes. The parents are forced to pay for the procedures through their insurance, and the kid and the doctor doesn't have to tell the parents a thing about it. But there's something else that's worse, and it's in California, right? This is all about separating the child from the parents under the guise of child's rights. Right? Since when? Since when? Children still believe in Santa Claus. They still use Velcro for their sneakers, and they still believe in the Easter Bunny. The problem with this is that if you deny, like that California lawmaker Weiner, right?
Oh,
If you
God, don't get me
deny,
started on that guy.
right, if you deny your child's gender, then the child can be taken away from you and thrown into CPS. You mean child trafficking on behalf of the government?
Yeah,
That's
the
scumbag.
greatest statistics for child trafficking out of anywhere.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So child trafficking.
Yeah.
So the real thing behind this is to not only control your movement, your freedom of movement, your freedom of speech, and your freedom of autonomy, but it's to also remove children from the parents, which ultimately means the state is the caretaker. So ultimately, that also means that the state is going to determine who can and cannot have children and what those children will look like thanks to genetic editing. So please stop. It's really.
Well, and the thing is, COVID was a great gateway for them towards social credit scores, and towards
exactly.
all this stuff. By the way, I just don't get me started on this shit, but that piece of shit, Scott Weiner,
Yeah.
He led the charge on getting rid of HIV disclosure laws. It had always been the case that if you are HIV positive and you have the sex with someone, you legally have to tell them, as it should be. And the thing is, it's been reported in the news many times that there are a lot of sick people out there. There are people who would sleep with young men and have unprotected sex and would send them a text after, haha, you got AIDS. These are sexual predators, and they market this under this insanity to call it gay rights when it is quite literally putting gay men at risk to sexual predators who mean them harm.
Yeah.
It is the most, and many states have followed suit, but he was the first. I know you wanted to get him. Were there any things you wish that they would ask?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Wow, that AI rabbit hole is actually genuinely insane. I haven't looked into it that much, but
same. We should do a deep dive on it.
Yeah. I think for me, like, I would love for them to talk about BlackRock a lot. I know they won't, because I think that there's like, the media, these media companies are in bed with them.
Went to China 30 times.
Yeah.
Doesn't want to talk about BlackRock.
I mean, I'd love for them to talk about that.
They're buying up right next door.
They own them. They can't talk about the people that purchase them, guys. When you own the politicians, they're not going to talk about it. It's against code. They want to get elected.
Yeah, but like just like the whole home ownership thing, I think for me, especially being like an older Gen Z, is big for me. I would love for them to talk about birth rates declining.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it kind of goes hand in hand with like the whole, like, how can we bring more families, whatever, but I'd love for them to talk, how can we address that? I'd also love for them to talk more about the health crisis and the obesity rates. And I get kind of like what I was saying earlier about the whole Make America Healthy Again campaign. Like, I'd love for the health conversation to be integrated more into our,
absolutely.
Discourse. But yeah, those three things mainly.
The health thing, I mean, RFK Jr., in his speech when he endorsed Trump,
it was amazing.
That was one of the best speeches I've ever heard.
Yeah.
I don't agree with him on probably 80% of his stuff, but where he's passionate about, I'm 100% with him. And I think he's really onto something.
Yeah.
And I think it's fantastic that they can get over their differences and he and Trump can get together and say, yeah, this is an important issue that we should all be coming together on. Instead we have politics that get in the way of this because people want to feel good about themselves. I'm sorry, like sometimes, like, look, I'm still a little overweight. I was overweight. I was like 275 pounds. I lost 75 pounds because I wanted to get myself healthy, and I'm still trying to lose like another 20.
He lost like an entire Spice Girl.
Yeah, and it's because it was not healthy for me to say, "Oh, I'm beautiful." I'm like, no, like I don't like making fun of people because of those issues, like because they're overweight or whatever. That's something that's a struggle. I mean, just look at how everything is geared. Like the FDA basically allows all crap through.
Doing the total
that
opposite
even
of what
when
they
we're
should do.
trying to lose weight, it's so hard to do because of all the crap that other countries just don't allow because it's absolutely bad for you.
Well, he's talking about like health and healthcare and the way that politicians should be talking about it, because I feel like with healthcare, it is an important topic, but we're always talking about like the question's always posed as like, what can we do to better the system? And I'm sorry, but like if the government keeps getting involved in the system and trying to make it better, it's just only going to get worse.
Well,
So the best thing you can do is do like what RFK is doing. Talk about how we as people can just be healthier and, you know, better ourselves in that way, so that we don't have to enter into these government healthcare systems.
Yeah. What can we do to make the system better? I got a great idea. Blow it up.
I mean, of course.
No. I don't want any more technocrats disguised as Democrats or Republicans saying, well, we can change the nuts and bolts and maybe put in a new spring or, you know, a new sprocket or whatever, and we can just make the thing. No. The system is killing people. Okay, let's just get blunt about this. I mean, I want to go back to something that was said earlier, talking about RFK's speech when he endorsed Trump. I mean, and not that I'm, you know, the fount of wisdom on all things political in America, but I am of the opinion that speech is gonna go down in history as one of the greatest speeches ever given. Democrat, Republican, Independent, I don't care what your politics. That speech was thoughtful. It was intelligent. It was articulate. It was from the heart. It was one of the finest oratories I think I've ever heard, and I don't care what political party the person belongs to.
Yeah.
You know, it was amazing.
I think it's very related that at some point, in addition to food and all of that stuff, I had a friend who spent a couple months in Europe and came back and said, whoa, he really realizes now all the shit that is put in food in America. And this is something that goes way beyond Democrat or Republican.
Yeah.
And I think in addition to that, it's somewhat related. At some point, people talk about the opioid epidemic. At some point, we are going to have to address the prescription drug epidemic in this country.
Yeah.
That you have half the population drugged up on antidepressants.
Yep.
You have a population of very compliant, anesthetized, emotionless zombies. And we're going to have to, and especially when young children are being put on these drugs, I have a show coming up that we're going to do a deep dive on this.
The future is going to feel the ramifications of that. Not the present. It's the future that's absolutely going to be devastated by that. And this is, I don't want to go into the whole, this is the plan thing. I just think certain ideologies just further things into a certain direction that is not good for this country. But kind of going back on to what Marie said with automation, I'm not, I don't think AI, in my opinion, is nearly as dangerous as some others on this panel think it is. But what I think is dangerous is the ideology that is geared toward destroying individuality, because the individual is incredible. It's that AI doesn't have consciousness. Individuals do. And when you take consciousness out of that individual, you get into a really dangerous area. You know, it's the mother is the necessity of invention. When people go through hard times and you really look historically at what people have done through these hard times and the inventions that they've created, the ways that they have endured through really horrible situations and come up with things. I mean, nowadays you just go on like Etsy or you go on whatever the other sites that are kind of like that, and you just see what other people have come up with that you would like never in a million years think of. That's individuality. That's individual genius that's coming into play. And when you try to strip that away by automating everything, that's dangerous stuff. Consciousness is something that's very like a spiritual thing to me. And I just don't think you can't put a consciousness into an AI as much as you try. Because I deal with AI a lot and it's great in certain things. But like you're just trying to get AI to create an image, they're still giving a person 7 fingers, no matter how many times it tries to learn.
Not for long though, I don't think.
There's a lot of stuff though that makes automation that will make a lot of jobs obsolete, and the government does want to take advantage of that to make you more dependent on government instead of dependent on yourselves. And I think that is a danger.
Let me just, before we continue, there's some chats I want to hit up. James says, Greg, you're a hottie in my eyes. No need to tell your wife.
Well, I agree.
Greg is a gay icon. Marie says, congrats, Skinny Spice. Hey, Caitlin, my love. I got to get you back on here soon. You were great on the show. Canada has different Lucky Charms than we do because they don't allow all the poisonous dyes we get to enjoy.
Yeah.
That's what Marie was saying too. It's hella weird how all our food has 80 unnecessary ingredients and all they want to do is sell Ozempic. They forbid half our ingredients in other countries. Yup.
Yeah, to go back to you, Mike. You were talking about your friend who spent a couple of months over in Europe. I have seen people comment, various people on social media that much like your friend, they can go over to Europe and eat everything they want. Doesn't matter what it is. I mean, we're obsessed with carbs and all this stuff here. The French drink wine and eat some of the fattiest food in the world.
Italians
they
too.
have almost no rates of heart disease. Why? It's the way the food is prepared.
And this is true with food just as much as prescription drugs. The issue won't be fixed until the oligarchy is overthrown. Mm-hmm. Yes, and that really is what I think a lot of this election is about. It isn't the conventional left versus right, Democrat, Republican that we've always had. It is really people who are kind of working against the oligarchy. Tulsi Gabbard, RFK, Trump. I wanted to bring this up too. Hey, Em, love you. My kid's kindergarten teacher tried to convince me to put my kid on Ritalin. Little did she know I work in a pharmacy and I know exactly what that drug is. The exact same thing happened. The exact same thing happened to me in kindergarten. They wanted to put me on Ritalin, and my dad was like, "Absolutely not."
Yeah, she's one of my regulars on my channel. I love her to death.
She's amazing.
So, yeah, absolutely.
When I was in 7th and 8th grade, I was a trouble child. Hyperactive, God, kid going through puberty. Oh my God, God forbid he's distracted and not wanting to pay attention in a very structured environment. But so all the teachers made complaints and convinced my parents to go to doctors. They said, oh, he's got ADD, get Ritalin. So I would have to, every day around 11 or so, I don't remember the exact time, but I'd have to, get called down to the office, and I'd go to the nurse's office and they'd give me my Ritalin pill. And then I'd go to the sink in the bathroom to get some water so I could take my Ritalin. And all I would do is because it made me feel awful and I didn't like it, I would just chuck it down the sink. I had the little grate thing. I would just poke it down there, pretend like I was taking my medicine for months and months and months. I did this. And then all these teachers are going to my parents saying how much I've improved, how much better I'm doing. I was never taken. I took it for a week, and that was it. But they're all freaking lying through their teeth that I was so much better because I was taking Ritalin, and I wasn't. It's a freaking scam. Yeah, I'm sure for certain people it is actually helpful, but for the vast majority it is massively overprescribed and has massive repercussions for people in the long run. And it's ridiculous that people can just be like, oh, he needs Ritalin without any medical expertise whatsoever. And then doctors are being paid off by pharmaceutical industries to push this without proper testing.
Because it's very similar because people flip the fuck out when I talk about antidepressants because so many people are on them.
Yeah.
But what we're talking about, it is very similar to the trans issue. That are there a small number of people who have gender dysphoria and genuinely feel happier living their lives as the opposite sex? Sure. That's not what we're talking about, though. We're talking about it being pushed on people en masse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, Brian had Dr. Amate on his show, and they might have talked about it, but I've had him on my podcast years ago multiple times. And he'll say, this is what he specializes in. This is what he talks about. And absolutely. For a small subset, yes, it works. And that's the right solution. Mm-hmm. But he is very, very much and has gotten a lot of ridicule and basically been shunned from his community of medicine because he's been standing up against how political it has become, because it is dangerous and he is there to treat people. not to sell them drugs because some pharmaceutical company is pushing this. And what happened? Why did all of a sudden the right, which used to be like this corporate cronyism, is now all of a sudden the anti-corporate party because of Trump? And
some of them, there's still too much.
Yeah, there's still too much.
Right.
I agree with that.
Like, how all of a sudden is the Democrat all of a sudden pro-pharmaceutical company?
Now you want to talk
about
that
change?
Now you want to talk about a party switch.
Yeah,
that's a party switch, not the BS.
The real switch never really happened, but the pharmaceutical thing
that definitely happened.
That really did.
Yep.
So it's interesting during COVID, at the old day job, I was following policy and trying to get a waiver from my doctor. And my doctor tried to convince me 6 ways to Sunday to take this thing. And I said, I brought all the receipts. I said, look, listen, this is emergency use authorization until 2027, which means approval is not going to be here until at least 2029. And everything else between then is all experimental. You have no idea of what the side effects are, long-term or short-term. And the way he wrote my note was, Chris has concerns about the injection due to a specific allergy, and it seems as though these shots may have it in it. Right.
Really?
So he never, ever, ever said, do not take this. I don't want him to take it. It was always, well, he has some concerns. And luckily enough, the old day job bought it. So the thing is that these doctors are just as beholden to big pharma and the bureaucracy as anybody else. And they're more than happy to go along with that plan because they make tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars per year to have a certain percentage of their clients, because that's what they are, clients vaccinated. And if you really want to do a deep dive into the debauchery of pharmaceutical, look into veterinary care and look into Zoetis. Zoetis is Pfizer.
We were just talking about it.
Yeah. And how many dogs do you see now that have allergies? When I was growing up, no dog had an allergy. Now every dog has an allergy. What kind of BS is that? Yeah. And then you have to get the more injections every year. I don't buy that. All right, guys, I'm going to have to get going because I'm a shrinking violet at this time of night because I have to get up in the morning. But I'll leave you with this. CNN is going crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're saying that Waltz was he didn't do too well because he was over-prepared. He knew too much. And so
they said, we were watching on CNN before the debate. They said, guess who Waltz was doing his debate prep with?
Buttigieg.
Oh,
God. A guy that's never won anything in his life.
The biggest toady in the Democrat Party.
Yeah.
That's Pete Buttigieg, a.k.a. Alfred E. Newman of the 21st century.
Seriously. What me worry.
I can't stand that guy. And you know what I hate, and it pains me to say this. I think on an objective level, he would be stronger than what they have.
There are a handful of politicians in America that, for the Democrats, that worry me going forward. Buttigieg is one. The Wicked Witch of the Midwest, Whitmer.
Yeah.
And then Newsom, only because he's just that ruthless and will lie through his teeth bigger than Bill Clinton ever thought about.
Shapiro.
Oh, well, there's one more. Jared Polis of Colorado. Watch out for that guy. Watch him.
I was going to say, any reason you wouldn't pick Shapiro? I mean, he talks and walks like Obama, and I actually thought he should have been the vice presidential.
No, I did too. I thought he was objectively stronger, but I feel like they kind of try to appease both sides.
There is a reason why
they want to appease the Hamasos.
There's a reason that I don't think Shapiro will ever get it, and the reason was proven in this election. I don't think, and I hate to say this, I don't think a Jewish man in the Democrat Party can get the nomination given the current way that the party is constituted. That would be his. I mean, he's smart enough. He's tough enough. He comes from a Midwestern state. He would have a block of votes locked in going into the thing, and he'll never get the nomination.
Excuse my hooker shorts.
Those really are hooker shorts.
Oh, God bless
the
Lord.
They shrink every day.
Hey, Brian, while we're here,
nut huggers.
Yes, sir.
Where do I find your social so I can follow you?
Sir, you may
Yeah.
find me on Twitter at The Front Porch C1. You may also find me on YouTube at The Front Porch Conservative. Oh, thank you for that commercial. You just walked me right into it, dude. That's
Absolutely.
the sign of a very smooth operator. You can also find me on Rumble. I've got a going little concern of a channel, and I'd like to make it a going big concern. So since the host is not here, I'm going to plug myself. There you go.
I just followed you too.
Thank you, gentlemen.
I brought up this too. There was a bill that Newsom rejected, and that was essentially to create safeguards for AI so that it wouldn't commit mass murder and just go off the rails.
Mm-hmm.
So I contend that California is nothing more than Weimar on steroids.
Oh, yeah.
And it is now a terrorist state because you have big tech that can run amok with artificial intelligence and basically do it without any rules or observance of human rights.
And why did Mike Shorts get shorter?
Shut up.
He just took them off. Now he's just another thumb.
Oh my God.
How the continents are moving like a millimeter every year or so. Like every day his shorts get shorter by like half a millimeter.
So somebody in the chat also brought up that Newsom outlawed voter ID, which is also true.
Yeah, you in California, you can, if you are a local jurisdiction that wants voter ID. Nope, not under California law. California law just basically said state law overrides your jurisdictional concerns. You don't get voter ID. We don't care how much you're screaming for it. Sacramento rules, you guys. Get over it.
Yeah, it's really bizarre because you have the federal government saying everybody can get a voter registration ballot, and then it's up to the states to determine whether or not that registration is actually legal.
But then they put all the laws in place to make sure that the states
that you can't make that determination, right? So of course, this is the way they're stacking the deck. They're trying to manipulate the Electoral College, the House of Reps, the distribution, and all the rest.
Yep.
And it's a real travesty that I have friends in Arizona, and I don't think they acknowledge the situation that they're actually in. And it is a severe situation.
Yeah.
If you think a Democrat governor is going to let that state go Republican, I've got news for you. It ain't. It ain't. It was never fixed from 2020 or 2022. They just uncovered 288,000 voter registrations that provided zero ID for it. And they didn't do anything about it.
Well,
they just said, yeah, here it is.
With Carrie Lake when she was challenging it. And they proved beyond any kind of doubt that they were literally just at their desk, just clicking next on all the ballots instead of like looking at the signature verification. They showed that it was taking them like a second per ballot. There's no way you can verify signatures in a second. They have video footage that they showed at trial, because I watched every second of it, that these guys were just literally going click, 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 click. There's no way you can verify that. And that is by law that they're supposed to do that. And of course, you get these judges that don't want to rock the boat at all. And it got sent back to them twice from the Arizona Supreme Court saying, hey, there are some concerns here. You guys need to review this. And the courts would just do the theater of listening to them, but you knew what they were going to decide anyways.
Right. And here's something else. This is where I really am going to leave. I am wilting here. My friends in Arizona found out that they were burning mail-in ballots in the desert back in 2020. So my question is, well, what do you think would happen? You had the postal union throw their weight behind Biden. You had all of these mail-in ballots where your party affiliation was on the front of it. So, of course, the postal workers are going to sabotage the election, right? Yeah. Of course they're going to do that.
Came out and endorsed Kamala. I think it should be absolutely illegal for a union that is in charge of sending out ballots to be endorsing anybody.
The IRS endorsed her too.
Yeah.
Well, no, and it's crazy coming from, I'd only ever voted in New York my whole life. And it's crazy. You don't have to do anything there. You just tell them your name and your address. And the last building that I had lived in 2020, there was one mailbox for the entire building in front, no lock on it. And one day I come home and there's a dozen different ballots in there. So if I had wanted to, I could have just taken them all, gone to vote.
Yep.
They would have
That's
never
all
known
by
the difference,
design.
given the name and address. And then I just voted recently for the first time here in Florida, and it was shocking how efficient it was. You show your ID, you vote. That's it.
Right.
Florida has a bigger population than Pennsylvania and other states, and they can have their votes done and tallied by 11:30 Eastern.
Yeah, not even
The whole state.
You know what's
Yeah,
so crazy? After they like really like clamped down on it, then is it Broward County that had all the issues?
Yes.
That all of a sudden now that switched over to DeSantis once it was like, oh, you have that voter ID and it has to actually get scanned, you have to check it. All of a sudden, this state where you had the one lady that was in charge of that was just refusing to do any of that.
Yeah,
should be in jail.
Right. So this is it. This is my final point.
I was gonna say,
Yeah, I've heard
is
that.
The reason why they want the illegal immigration is because they want the ballots generated, right? You can't have, in reality, you can't have 1,000 people all registered to an address that's a church. That's, oh, by the way, the church is condemned and closed. It hasn't been open for years, right? But what happens is that the ballot is generated. So that means that somebody can fill in the ballot. It could be the people that print the ballots, like we saw back in 2020, or it could be a Democrat operative, and then they drop it off at 3 a.m. in some box, and it's counted.
Yep.
So they don't need the illegal immigrant to actually vote. All they want is the ballot to be generated, and it fills in itself. They're stealing the election. And now I'm leaving. I've got to get to work.
Michaels. Have a good night.
Michaels, I appreciate it so much. Thank you so much for coming by. You're amazing, dude.
Oh, no. Thank you for having me.
Where can people find you?
Oh, you can follow me on X at the Last Call Caravan, because if you're listening to me, you're a lovable fuzzball and you're on the Caravan of Brilliance on your social media or podcasting platforms. It is Last Call with Chris Michaels. Thank you, dude, bro.
All of you. All right, well, you guys better go follow this beautiful bastard. Michaels, have a good night.
All right, see you
later, Michaels. See you tomorrow night.
Bye-bye.
Well, before we continue, let me just take a very quick word from our sponsors.
It's time for my grifting. Give me all your money. Don't just be a drifter. Help me be a grifter.
Fuck you, pay me.
So if you like the channel and feel so inclined, even in this, I love how Vance kept calling it the Harris-Biden administration. Yeah. Even in this shit economy, if you feel so inclined, send in your super chats or subscribe to my locals. Or my Patreon, become a channel member. We do lots of fun stuff. We're gonna be doing lots of movie nights all through October for spooky month. We've been watching The Apprentice season 1 every week. I can't get him to join, but maybe if you guys want to be a special guest on one. Brian, you would like The Apprentice. He would too, but he won't give it a chance.
Anytime, brother. You know where to find me.
Greg, also, yeah, if you feel like it, you got to write me a better grifter jingle.
I will work on it very soon. I've been backed up writing more jingles. I wrote one about Asheville the other day. So I was trying to raise some awareness, trying to put some music out for that, but I will work on your jingle very soon. I'm actually also going to turn to a pumpkin soon. I'm in the classroom teaching at 7:10 tomorrow morning. So I'm going to have to get off the bed here in a few. But I did want to kind of address a ton of different things.
You real quick. Oh my God. Marion, thank you so much. That is so unbelievably generous of you. Thank you so much. All right, you grifter. I gotta go to bed. Good night. Thank you so much. That is, oh my God. I am way overrated, but I appreciate it so much. Thank you. See, you're the one who
Good night, Marion. That was very sweet.
that was very
thanks for listening
generous.
to this. Yep.
Wow,
Exceedingly
thank you so
generous.
much.
Very, very kind.
Yeah, she's amazing.
That-
Oh my gosh, thank you. I'm speechless. Also wanted to respond. Also, have an amazing night. I hope everything's okay where you are, hurricane-wise and everything.
Yeah, can I just say, like, for you out there in the audience, like, if there are charities that do your research, make sure the money's actually going to directly help folks, but they're actually dealing with like people in Nashville and like Augusta, Georgia, and areas like that. Think about donating a little bit of money, because if you get enough people donating, that adds up to a lot. And these people really do need help. And the only people that are really helping is the community. It's not going to be coming from government.
For sure. I just wanted to respond also. Thank you so much to Marion. I hope you have a great night. Caitlin, did you watch Videodrome? I've been waiting for you. I was talking about it though. So we have a movie request for the squad. So we're going to watch video. You've seen that, right?
I have.
I've never seen Videodrome. So we're going to watch that with the squad.
It's crazy. It's nuts.
With some substance.
Oh,
hopefully this is good crazy, not bad crazy like that. I'm sorry though, Greg, you were saying.
Oh, yeah. No, that's okay. I'm glad that Marianne came through, and that was awesome. So that's way more important, actually. Help support this type of content to be able to keep people informed with views and voices that you don't normally hear. So thank you, Marianne. Appreciate you supporting Mike's channel here. So I had like a ton of thoughts. I was staying quiet, which isn't normally easy for me, but with the group that we had, I have a lot of things I'd like to address, but I think will be left for follow-up shows since, we talked about doing some more content, but I'm going to offer some things you might not have thought about as a public school teacher, things that I've seen as a journalism teacher and a journalist. First, I've watched firsthand as there's been a rise of bad psychology in our country, particularly in our schools. I don't know what exactly is causing psychologists to ignore the diagnostic DSM-4 for DSM-5 now for what is feelings and trying to nurture feelings to keep people from committing suicide. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Like, well, how dare we not address this because the kid will commit suicide or the adult? That's wrong.
Abuse.
Because we're not actually addressing the issue that's at hand. Second, ADHD. One of the reasons it's overprescribed is because if you're able to get an ADHD diagnosis, many school districts, many states will actually offer the family money for having a special education child. So that's part of an IEP. So therefore, there's money that can come in. So for a family that's already struggling, it behooves you to have that as well. Do you want to take a quick break and put that up? Because I don't want to.
Oh my God. Marion, you are way too generous. Thank you so
Holy cow.
much. You are like single-handedly keeping the channel afloat. And I've got a lot of epic stuff I'm excited for. I've like 4 big YouTube videos coming. We're doing a lot more streams. I'm very excited. This is kind of like the first time I really trying to full-time make stuff. We have a group on the ground in Northeast Tennessee that we are sending supplies to. Our dams held, but a lot of water came down from the ridge in North Carolina, flooding towns like Greenville and Elizabethton. Where I am, we are not affected. Give what you can, people. Yes, let me know anyone out there, good organizations, or Christy had named one before. Send them to me. I'll post about them, do whatever I can.
If you have a name for that group, if you guys are accepting donations or whatnot to help, post that up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because these people really do need support.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of really good small, like stuff you had talked about and Christy talked about, a lot of smaller organizations that do a lot.
Yeah, I'd say look for the smaller organizations. They always seem to care a whole lot more, and they don't have the big overhead to keep the whole organization running. It's just people that are selfless and want to help, and they try to give every ounce of that money they possibly can to the communities. Where you get these bigger organizations, like 10% goes to them and 90% feeds the coffers of the organization.
Thank you so much, though, Marion. You're amazing. I'm glad you guys are okay there. Yeah, I have a lot of friends in North Carolina and Georgia who really got it horrible. St. Pete too.
Yeah,
it was terrible there.
Yeah. I saw one video coming out of Tennessee where this guy was standing there, and there's another gentleman maybe about 20 feet down from him, right against this creek bank, and part of the bridge was already washed out. Okay, I think this is like Tennessee State Route 90 or something like that, if I remember the name of it correctly. And literally, while the guy is standing there filming the other guy who's filming what's going on, the remaining part of that bridge literally got torn off its foundations, just swept out. There was nothing left. There was no way anybody was going to cross that body of water. And Asheville, North Carolina, from what I understand, every major bridge going in and out of Asheville is gone. They are isolated, no ability to communicate, no cell phone service, no water, no gasoline, nothing. It's horrible.
This is insane, by the way. I didn't see this. Did you see the hurricane relief mutual aid designated for LGBTQ people and abortion? Why am I not surprised, though? I'm not surprised.
Once people are in need and you're going to play politics for this stuff, it's disgusting.
Yeah,
I mean, like, what those people are doing is crazy. I've been through flash floods, and they're called flash floods for a reason because they literally come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I've been in the middle of a number of them in Tennessee when I lived there, and I don't know how some of them I survived. Luckily, I was driving a truck and could make it through. But you'll be driving, and then all of a sudden I've had water up to my window, and you just got to hope and pray that you don't get just swept away.
Yeah.
We got very lucky here that didn't really.
Yeah, I got some debris in the lawn. I had to rake the lawn with that. But yeah, we kind of lucked out.
Grifty, you got to get back on here soon, my love. It has been way too long. You love Grifty.
Gritty.
He's great.
So I just want to wrap up.
I was going to say,
I need to get the bed. No, it's okay. I don't like talking over, so I'm sorry. So Zoloft, I'll talk about that in the future. Just so you know, there's actually no scientific studies that say there's a such thing as a chemical imbalance in the brain that can be fixed by Zoloft.
Yeah.
But we can talk about that in the future. And the biggest thing that I think people should pay attention to, there's 3 crises going on right now, and the October surprise still hasn't hit that Hillary Clinton seems to be promising is coming. So pay attention. The 3 crises that would have probably the most important, I'll say for the last. You have the flooding that's going on with more hurricanes that are currently forming out both in the Atlantic as well as in the Caribbean. There's 2 storms. One I think is going to weaken. The second one we need to keep an eye on late next week. That could re-damage the rescue efforts. That is the first story. The second story, not as important quite, but need to keep an eye on is what's going on in Israel and Iran, because in an election season, I believe that could be used against us in order to sway an election. So I'm waiting for that, but I don't think that's the October surprise. And then the third thing is actually the most important thing. I need to make sure the listeners are hearing me on this. I've been talking about it for a while now. I went to the store. I practice what I preach. I've prepared. I have things. The strike that you're hearing about finally, you should have been hearing about for a long time.
Absolutely.
This has closed every single port along the entire East Coast through Texas. The Teamster Union, literally, not my words, this is their words. They said, fuck you to the Biden administration and the government, telling them not to enact the Taft Act, which would force them to work for 90 straight days while negotiating. They've also said if they're forced to go back to work, they will only do 8 shipping containers per hour as opposed to the 30 they normally do. Let me explain very quickly to everybody what that means for you and your life. Within the next week, you're going to watch gas prices go up as crude oil can't get off the boats in order to be refined here in the United States. At the end of that first week, you're also going to start seeing that people are going to realize, I better get to the grocery store and start stocking up on toilet paper. You're looking at COVID all over again with the toilet paper crisis. I'm not trying to be funny. I'm being serious.
Yeah.
By the second week, you're going to start realizing that your grocery stores are having trouble getting any imported fruits, vegetables, as well as some of the meats that you would normally get. You like your meats from South America? Guess what? You're shit out of luck. You better live on the West Coast. By the end of the third week, that's where things really start getting dicey because the economy takes a hit. At $500 million less per day coming into this country, then the economy starts getting hit because there's no construction starts, there's no steel to do things, and now we start getting a backup into projects that were supposed to be completed sometime in November, December. They're not getting completed sometime in 2025.
Yeah.
Then you have to remember that we're in the middle of Christmas shopping season, which is supposed to be the biggest boost to the economy at the end of every single year. All these people rely on Black Friday. Well, guess what? There's no clothing coming from China. There's nothing coming off those boats in order to stock underneath the Christmas tree. We are in full-on crisis mode. The last time this happened, it was a 44-day strike in 1977. And it does not look like they're any closer to trying to come up to an agreement. They want the pain, and this is going to completely fuck everybody. I cannot stress that enough. So if you're not prepared right now, if you don't have ammo, if you're not ready to strap on the gun to your waist and have your Second Amendment rights, depending where you live, if you're not ready to be able to go out to the grocery store, take what you have and shop smartly in order to provide for your family, don't say no one ever warned you. We are in perilous times. And like I said, the October surprise has not even happened yet. That's where I'm handing my hat for tonight, gentlemen. I'd love to come back on with you later. We'll do some more. Brian,
Greg,
also nice meeting you.
You are the
meeting you,
greatest, dude. Thank you so much for being here. Where can people find you?
Sure. Type in America Emboldened anywhere. You'll see the podcast there. There's over 400 episodes to listen to. Lots of great interviews with people that you probably know, politicians, and some great thought leaders throughout the world. As well as you can go over to my Rumble page, America Emboldened, YouTube America Emboldened. You can follow me at Real Greg Bolden, Boulden, on Twitter, and Instagram, just Greg Bolden. Thanks so much, everybody. I appreciate you guys. Much love to you all.
Love you, dude. We'll
Nice
talk
meeting you,
soon.
man. Have a
Take
great
care.
night.
Absolutely.
Bye,
Pleasure
there.
to meet you, sir.
Nice meeting you too, Brian.
I'm so happy that I talk about this a lot, but there's so many shitty, horrible fucking people that do what we do that I just really love it when you find good people like all of you guys. I'm like, that's great.
Absolutely amazing. Yeah, no, it's. I mean, I hate to be somebody that follows out the door, but it is.
No,
Yeah,
I was gonna
I
say we
think-
should wrap up soon.
I was
Anyway,
gonna
I
say,
miss
you
you, Brian.
I miss you too. Daggone it. And by the way, I think I'm going to take a page out of your book. I'm going to start wearing shorty shorts, man. Apparently that helps with super chats or something. I don't know, man. No, I'm just messing with you. I am just messing with you.
Was the last time you guys talked Carrie's
It might have
anniversary?
been, or we might have talked one other time. I can't remember. I just on Carrie's stream, like that night, like around midnight, I got another kidney stone and had to be rushed to the hospital.
That was the one we did. No, that was the one we did on my channel.
Oh, it was. You're right. You're right. Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about that.
So
It was us and Carrie.
similar, like talking to you, and I was talking to you like, oh, you got to get Dr. Amate on.
Yeah,
And-
I did, and a great interview. Absolutely great interview.
Fantastic. I really, really like that guy because he's
Yeah.
just honest,
Yeah.
and he's really in the fight.
James wants to know if you saved your kidney stone in a jar.
I wanted to. I asked the doctor, "Can I have it?" And he just started laughing. He's like, "Well, we got to send it to a lab. I don't know if they're going to keep it after that." But I was really adamant. I was like, "I want that back," because I had two of them. I had three. I had one in my right kidney. I had two in the left. And but yeah, they gave me none of that.
You guys have not.
If William Shatner can sell those things off for charity money, dude, there's not a reason why you shouldn't get it back in a jar, so you can, in an entrepreneurial economy, why you should not profit.
You guys have not experienced true horror until you have heard Greg describe kidney stones in
It's the
detail.
worst pain you will ever.
I've
I
had
don't know.
them.
Hearing you
I've
talk
had
about
them.
it is the worst pain I've ever felt.
I've had them before. There is, I mean, it's described as the closest thing a man will ever have to giving birth, and I have no reason to dispute that. None.
I take. It depends. There's different types of kidney stones. Not to get too off topic, but
No, any
there's
topic but this.
herbal
Any
medicine-
topic but
there's a
this.
herbal medicine you can take called Chancopiedra, stone breakers, and they break up calcium stones. I've been taking them since I had my last kidney stones in August, and it's been over a year now, and I hadn't had a kidney stone since. So I take that stuff. It's worked great. Highly recommend it.
You thought you had another one at one point. That did a good
Yeah,
job.
and I
Got rid of
took
it.
those. A couple days later, it was gone.
Oh my god! I think my biggest fear in the world now is getting kidney stones.
Just drink water. Just constantly stay hydrated. Drink water.
I'm trying to quit drinking soda.
Yeah, but I asked the doctor, I was like, "What? I'll do anything. What can I do to stop these from happening?"
Marie said, "I know." Me too, Marie.
That's funny. Yeah, I asked the doctor, like, what can I do? And he's like, if you could answer that question, you'd help millions of people. We don't know.
Yeah.
It's mostly genetic, they think, but they don't really know, other than like just drink lots of fluids, like keep flushing your kidneys.
That's all you can do.
But it's horrible, horrible stuff.
Ugh.
Yep.
Oh God! And I'm like, ugh. Sorry, I'm like, ugh. I hear kidney stones. Kidney stones are like my trigger
makes you stronger.
Ugh. Well, we should probably wrap up. This is amazing, Brian. You got to come on soon.
Absolutely, and the same thing for you, dude. It's been a while since you visited my electronic front porch, so
I know it's been way too long.
I know.
I'm sure everyone here, if they're smart, already does. But if they don't, where can they find you?
Oh, you smooth operating broadcaster, you. Thank you for that glide path to the intro. You can find me on Twitter at TheFrontPorchC1. You can also find me on YouTube and Rumble. I have channels there. I do a live stream Monday through Thursday night, 7:30 Eastern, called Chatting on the Porch. And I do a live stream on the weekend called Front Porch Brunch, where we get to talk about stuff, give our views, and talk about the news, laugh, cry, in some cases both. But otherwise, we have a real good time. If you're not subscribed to my channels, please do so.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is one of the greatest people I know. He's just a fucking gem. As are you guys, obviously. This was such a great time. So where can people find you, my love?
I'll type it. It's just a lot. Like my last name's a bitch to spell out.
Yeah. You should fix that. You just change it. Do something.
Change your last name.
Part of me wishes I could.
Yeah, change it to the artist formerly known as Prince or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Other Mikey. Mikey too.
There it is.
You can find this guy.
Me.
Where can people find you?
Just on X. So it comes at Mike. The Fright Mike page.
The Fright Mike page.
It's been a little lax because Mikey's gotten a little bit better.
Because he's failed. He doesn't post his failed attempts.
You don't post
at scaring
failures.
me.
Come on. I was raised a middle class child. But it's
did you notice that in the debate tonight? JD was turning that very line. Yeah, I grew up in a middle class family. He was turning it on her, and I'm sitting there going, "You genius, you effing genius."
Because it's usually them doing that.
Yeah, but see, he does that, then he actually answers the question that he's given, whereas Kamala doesn't.
Yeah.
So that's the difference.
Let me ask before we wrap up. I want to ask all you guys, if you had to make a prediction as of this moment, what do you think is going to happen with the election?
320 electoral votes plus for Trump.
I think Trump's going to win, but I think it's going to be close, but I do think he's going to win.
It'll be close in individual states, but electorally it'll be a landslide.
Yeah.
Trump wins popular vote by 1.5 and gets 335 votes in the Electoral College. Keep your eyes on the Commonwealth of Virginia. Keep your eyes on
Virginia. I think he could win. I also think too he can win. I think he's going to win the blue wall. I think he has all those states locked in. I do.
Is actually only up. It's the worst performance in like 40 years. She's only up by like 9 in New York, which is like unheard of.
Yeah, that's not good. Yeah. And I think I heard too that they are pretty. I heard today, I saw a tweet saying that the Democrats are very concerned about Michigan, which that would be huge if Trump pulled that off.
I hope you guys are right. I am very concerned. I think it's neck and neck. I just hope hope, regardless of who wins, I just hope, seems a little naive to say this, but I hope that it is just a transparent election where no questions and we can all have faith in the result either way.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Sounds like hoping for world peace, but
and one last piece of political thing for your viewers. Remember this: the three wise men. The three wise men are Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania.
Yep.
And with the exception of 2 elections in the past 50 years, the three wise men always travel together. Translation: if one state goes for Trump, the other two should follow suit. Same thing with Kamala. If she picks up one, the other two wise men may follow. But frankly, that's the only way Kamala wins. She has to sweep the three wise men. If she doesn't, it's over.
Yeah, but now Trump's up in the Sun Belt and he doesn't even need that, potentially, which is crazy.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna be.
I don't know.
I'm gonna have a clenched asshole the entire time. I'm just gonna be.
Well, how's that any different than the rest of your? No, I'm just kidding.
It's those tight shorts. That's.
You fuckers. Well, on that note, thank you guys so much for being here. I freaking love you guys so much. Jesus, shut up. I love you, Brian. My beautiful
Love you too, brother.
chat friends. I love you guys so much. Oh, also, let me mention, I was talking about this on the last show. However, spin-off announcement. We are starting a new show, Mike and Greg Investigate, where we're going to play detective each episode.
TBA.
That's what I was going to say. That's my point I'm coming around to. Each episode, Greg and I will be doing a deep dive, playing detective, investigating a haunting, a true crime case, a conspiracy, and then us and the chat will all vote on if it's legit or bullshit. But we can't think of a title. So if anyone has any title ideas, I wanted to go with Private Dicks, but that might give us some.
I looked it up. It's already taken.
Damn it.
But
So if anyone has title ideas, let me know.
I like double entendres.
Same. We got to think of some.
Yeah.
Not like BuzzFeed. We're way cooler than
No.
BuzzFeed.
Exactly.
How dare you?
um,
Burn popcorn.
yeah, now I see why your popcorn is burnt. What was I saying? Yes, well, I will be back with multiple new shows coming soon, new videos. Join my locals. We have been watching The Apprentice season 1. We've got 2 watch parties left before the big finale night. It's a 3-part finale. Very exciting. And we're going to be watching Videodrome and other scary movies. Yeah, do all the stuff. BuzzFeed is already unsolved. Thank you guys so much for being here. Subscribe to this beautiful man. Subscribe to these beautiful men. Brian, I love you.
Love
Good
you
night,
too,
y'all.
brother. Gentlemen, have a good night.